Welcome, everybody. Hi, this is Diane Kazer. I am here with Danny J, and we are here today to talk about money and our relationship with money. And this is my amazing project that I'm bringing to you guys. At this point with the video, I'm not sure where Danny J is going to fall in terms of the order, but this is a very important topic for my Heart to Happiness event. And this is something I'm calling a project, really, because I think projects invoke action. And so today we're going to talk about probably one of the most important pieces of this project, because it really starts in childhood what our relationship with money is. So today we're going to talk about how we can use money as an investment in our heart through the lives of others. And Danny J's got a lot to say about this. She has a story. She's got a lot of really hard falls, hard knocks, and lots of victim stories. And then comes out just like she does with everything else since I've known her, comes out in the end as a success. And we'll talk about how we define success and everything today as well. So you guys may know I was a financial advisor for 8 years. I started when I was 22 years old, sold my business when I was 29. And I kind of did the Britney Spears thing. I went into finance. I went straight out of college, played pro soccer, came back, started my practice. And then I simultaneously partied and lived like a 22-year-old, kind of like Wolf on Wall Street, but maybe a tenth of it. maybe a tenth of Wolf on Wall Street. I didn't do, any of those Quaaludes or anything, but why I bring that up is because I almost feel hypocritical, because when I was advising a lot of my clients who are in the 50s and 60s and 70s, moving into this beautiful space into their life of retirement, where they were hopefully ideally retiring into something instead of away from something, and just like, what am I going to do with my life now? I didn't have a good relationship with money then. I'm still working on a good relationship with money. And in fact, the better my relationship with money gets, the more things I draw into my life that I want, that bring me real happiness. And so I think it's awesome that Danny J is probably going to spin her light on money and its relationship to happiness through her heart better than I could have in my 8 years as a financial planner. And I think her advice is more important than you should take 10 to 20% of your money and save it into your future. So because it involves the heart, and we're here for that, right? Connection instead of money. And money is a tool, right? So I shouldn't even say it like that. I could probably word it better. Probably Danny J can. So Danny J, maybe you could just take it away. What's up, girl?
I love it. I'm so excited about this project. And I just have to say real quick, I love that you called it a project, because my recent project was called Find the Money Project. And I went to a Michael Port event and I told some people the name of this. We're going about titles. And 2 people were like, I don't like project. It sounds like work. And I go, well, it is work, but I feel like it's fun and I actually love it. I've been seeing project a lot lately, so I'm excited about this project. I think it's fun.
Do you remember on Clueless? Remember the movie Clueless?
Yes.
Where she goes, project!
Totally.
So maybe this is just like our cute little girl. I think it's great. I do, the word pro is in project. But I think that the word work has a negative connotation. And that's why I like to call this heart work, right?
I love it.
Heart work. So, and it's because you're investing your heart into your passion and your calling. And it's a meeting of the time plus heart would be what a project is to me anyway. Does that resonate with you too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
I love the heart work. I love it. I love it all. I mean, I think we can play with words, but I think words are important. How we describe something is how we receive it. And we'll talk about this a little bit more later in our money story and what we tell ourselves about money. But I think when you can kind of play with words, it will mean something different to you. Even the same connotation of something is going to have a different connotation to someone else. So vocabulary is important. And by the way, what is that little heart you have? It's like a little glass thing. It's so cute.
Yeah. You know what? People, I think it's very important, the laws of attraction. If I could talk, the laws of attraction, I heard you talk about this too. And, the laws of attraction are very important with money. Do you follow, what's her name? Laws of Attraction, Esther Hicks, Abraham Hicks. Yeah. Okay. So she's down the rabbit hole. If you guys are ready for that, you can Google her and Laws of Attraction stuff. But we're going to talk about that and break it down into more simplistic terms today. But Laws of Attraction for me, I somehow attract people through my intentions that come into my life and are like, hey, look, you called me and I'm here. And this happened where I was like, I need an assistant. Oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to find one that can do what I need. And she just shows up and she's like, hey, I want to help you. And I'm like, okay, well, how does this work? And she's like, I just want to help you. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, I'm just going to help you for free. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So then I'm like, well, there should be some money exchange because money has power and money shows me to you that I appreciate you.
Yep.
But in her mind, money was not what she wanted. It was just a satisfaction of knowing that I believe in Diane and her project and what she's doing. And I just want to put it out there. I don't need money. I just want the fulfillment of knowing that I'm helping the world discover your gifts by putting you out there and easier to be found. And she gave me this heart.
Aw, so
yeah.
cool.
So I put it on my desk and it just, I didn't even plan it to be there. I just went, oh, look, there it is. And of course, another one of those things. So today, guys, we're going to talk, here's our agenda for today. We're going to spend 30 to 45 minutes talking about, Danny's got this dialed down. She's got the Find the Money Project. I think it's so awesome because Danny J wasn't a financial planner. So, and maybe neither are you. Probably neither are you. So this can be done by anybody. But one of the, I've been researching this now for a while. One of the top 10 things that prevent us from being happy is not taking risk, is staying in our own little bubble. So what Danny J is going to talk about today involves some risk because you're going to be doing things that are outside of your comfort zone. And you're going to be exploring the insides of yourself, your soul, that might be a little bit painful to stumble across. And you might think to yourself, oh, I should have known that a long time ago. Why did I do it that way? So forgiveness and empathy is very important. And that's how we connect, really. So the three things that we're going to get into, and Danny J says that the three reasons money can cause unhappiness. And on the flip side, how can you turn that around so that money can bring you happiness? So Danny J, I'm going to let you bullet those three. Just state the three, and then we'll get into each specific one. I want to talk a little bit about your story before we get into this. Yeah.
Can you remind me of what I said? Okay. So.
Yeah, of course. Okay. So the first one, I articulate it just really simply, thinking that you don't have enough. And so that's, living in lack. And instead of saying a heart attack, you could say a heart of lack. So thinking that you don't have enough. Number two, that money will fix something. So like, it's just sort of like duct tape, like that it's a means to an end.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a tool, but we're going to talk about why that could be destructive. And then number three is your relationship with money and attaching yourself to it like a barnacle to a whale. Thinking, what is your money story? What is your pain point? What are your money scars? And what are your money shame? What is your maybe childhood upbringing on how you view money? And then of course, how that's been shaped by society and, outside of the family and, rap songs that talk so much about money and having the dollar sign in their name.
Yes.
So
it's my name. It's my name.
Yeah. So let's talk about your story first, like a little brief, why are you so passionate about this?
Yeah. So, Diane and I know each other from the fitness industry. I was a personal trainer, fitness model. I competed for many years and I had a successful training business. But the funny thing is that I've always had, and looking back, I've always had a lot of different money issues going on in my life. My dad was a compulsive gambler, so there were so many issues that came along with that. But around 2010, the economy hit the entire country, but Las Vegas was hit particularly hard in the real estate industry and just the hotel and gaming and all of that. So my husband and I were doing our personal training business and we lost many of our clients very quickly. A lot of people were just laid off within a few months. So literally I remember one August, we just lost $3,000 in income just because our client said, hey, I don't have a job. I can't pay for a trainer, which is completely legit. You're not going to pay for a personal trainer if you're not working. You need to pay the bills and eat. So we lost a lot of income and there was no foreseeable way out. And at the same time, we were looking at our mortgage in our house, which was worth about half of what we owed. And nearly everyone around us was foreclosing. They were filing bankruptcy. They were short selling their homes. And we were really against that. But we knew that we were in a weird situation and we were kind of looking into the future going, do we want to sit here in this house for 30 years paying it off when it's not even worth what we're paying for it, when we could basically buy the house next door for half of what we're paying here. And it just didn't make sense money wise or financially or anything. And so we consulted with different lawyers, and ultimately we ended up foreclosing on our own home and filing bankruptcy. And it came to the point where pretty soon we weren't able to make our own mortgage. So we were in this crazy situation. We ended up moving in with some friends up in northern Utah because they had just bought a home and they had an extra room and were kind enough to offer us space. And during that time, we started looking for other jobs. So we started trying to train, and we were making like $10 per half hour. Like, it was these half-hour sessions, and it was ridiculous. And I remember we were making together combined. My husband was working at 2 gyms. I was working at a gym, a gymnastics center, and waitressing. We each had 3 jobs. He was also doing like security at a nightclub. And
Holy hustle.
combined, we were making $600 a month.
What?
And it was like the most embarrassing, shameful thing. I mean, I was sitting here going, I have a master's degree and I can't get a job anywhere. We ended up applying for food stamps just so we could help out in some way living with our friends, because we couldn't really pay them rent. That $600 was covering our car insurance, our cell phone bills, you know, just the small bills that we had. And we were very much in victim mentality. We were blaming the economy. There's nobody hiring. There's nobody doing this. Nobody wants us. I have a degree, and this is, you know, just a lot of that stuff. And then more bad things kept happening. Our car broke down, and then we didn't have money to fix it because it was the engine and it was going to cost $2,000. And it was one thing after another. And we ended up taking a risk and actually renting a car on my credit card, driving up to Boise, Idaho for a conference at bodybuilding.com. And it was there my husband got a job offer for a job that was in Dallas, Texas. So it was about 2,000 miles away, and they wanted him there in 10 days. And I was like, you got to go. Like, we got to take it. And it was for $35,000 a year, which is like nothing compared to what we had been making in Vegas, but it was way more than what we were making in Utah.
It was what you lost. It was $3,000 a month.
Right. So we
Wow.
were like, okay. So he packed up, moved to Texas, lived on a couch for a month. I moved back in with my mom for actually 2 months. And once I got there, the ironic part was that we were making more money than we were in Utah, but we were still broke. And I was getting to this place where I'm going, how are we ever going to dig ourselves out of this hole? I kept blaming the fact that we weren't making enough money. I said, it's because we don't make enough money. It's because things are too expensive. It's because all of these external circumstances that I don't have control over. And I started doing research online. I was looking for ways to win a car. I was looking for ways to make more money. And I came across a mentor of mine, another Danny Johnson. I found her because I was Googling myself.
That's right. Which everybody you should do so you don't get hacked.
Totally. So this woman with my name, and it turns out she had this workshop about getting out of debt and success. And she was a homeless woman who turned into a millionaire. And so I figured she's got to know something that I don't know. And turns out what she knew was that I needed to take personal responsibility for my own economy. And it wasn't about blaming the economy. It wasn't about what was happening on the outside. Definitely those were true facts, but there were things that I could have done and choices I could have made that wouldn't have left me in such a dire situation. And so ultimately, literally less than 90 days after going to listen to her and change my mindset, my husband's mindset, we became completely debt-free on the same salary we were making, even though the salary that I thought wasn't enough to do anything with. We paid off all of my student loans and our credit card. And then we were able to buy 2 cars in cash within 6 months, to do all of that within 6 months, making the same amount of money that we had been making. So it was this massive mindset shift. And I realized that it really comes down to, where are we putting our control, our sense of control? And we're also just not, we're not being mindful, and we're not being intentional. And it comes down to that. And I think so many people worry about, oh, if I have to give up my Starbucks, or if I have to give up this or that. And it's not about giving things up. It's just being mindful and intentional. When I did Find the Money Project, the very first step was to print out your bank statements. Take a highlighter and look at all those things you buy with your debit card and see where it's going. Because I used to think I'm spending less money because I'm using a debit card. I just buy something for like $1.30 and I just swipe a card instead of using cash. And I also didn't trust myself with cash because I'm like, if I have cash, it's gone. So Nate and I printed up our bank statements, and we found out that prior month we had spent $1,300 on food, and we thought we were broke. 2 people, we don't even have kids. And we thought we were going to the grocery store and we weren't eating out a lot. We weren't having fancy dinners. And we had no idea that we spent $1,300. Our rent was only $700.
I mean, Nate's
So,
a big dude and everything, but
right.
he's a big muscle head. And,
But there was no reason. There was no reason to spend that, especially in Texas. You know, we weren't in California or New York City. We were in Texas. Cost of living is relatively cheap, but we were just being wasteful. We weren't being mindful. We weren't being intentional. And how much of our things were being thrown away. You know, we'd buy something, we would sit there, we wouldn't eat it, and then you just toss it because it goes bad. And so
you know what they say about that, Danny J? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
They say that the average American wastes 25 to 30% of the food that we purchase.
I believe it.
It's pretty crazy. And that's the lack of mindfulness there is not having a plan and going to the grocery store and not having, you know, this is also part of like what we used our old world where, you know, meal prep and planning. And so it's crazy how, you know, we all have the ability to plan. We just don't put our intentions there. So if something is really important to you, and as we were talking about before, if it's an F, then you make it a priority. And so if it's a hell yes, that you really want to find happiness through money using the right sets of contexts and the right mindset, then you will do what Danny J is saying, and you will print out your bank statement. Go follow Danny J. Go see what she's doing with the project, because one of the things, part of that, Danny J, and this is what I wanted to, I didn't say it before we started this the broadcast, because I wanted to hear what you had to say organically about it, is I sat down with the gut microbiome specialist interviewing for this project too. So if you guys are listening to this, you should listen to his too, and it's with, so he and I were talking about, where do you invest your money? Are you investing it in fear, or are you investing it in opportunity? So when you really look at your bank statement, what I mean by fear is, you know, if you're doing it because you want to fit in, if you're doing it because you have this lack mentality, if you're doing it because you're afraid that if you don't spend it, then like, you know, Armageddon's going to happen, and tomorrow, like a big, you know, meteor's going to come, and so I'm hoarding these cans in this one room. Or is it on opportunity? You know, taking a holiday, taking a much needed break, and I don't mean like, you know, splurging, but opportunity being also that you realize that, you know, it takes investing in something for it to grow, and then also investing in other people through our hearts by tithing. So what do you think about that? Like what percentage are you spending on fear and opportunity?
Oh, it's so good. I love that. So one of the next steps in Find the Money Project, after looking at all your stuff, the second step is use all your shit. So it was funny for us when we came home and we saw that, we decided we're not going to go shopping until we used up everything that we had, all the food. And we used to go to the grocery store every other day. Now, when we did this, we ended up eating out of the pantry and out of the freezer and out of the fridge for 2 weeks. And I see people going through this process going, well, we don't want to run out of food. I'm like, girl, you aren't running out of food. Fear. There is that fear. And there's also, I mean, where do we all live? I mean, honestly, if we run out of food, almost every one of us is 5 minutes from a grocery store. I am now living somewhere very rural, and it's still only 20 minutes away from a grocery store. Like, if I literally ran completely out of food, we would find it, or we could run to a neighbor's house and get something. I'm not going to die. None of us are in that place. None of us watching this on the internet and on a phone are in that place, at least. So we can all agree there, right? If we have a phone and we have internet and we're watching this, we're not there. So it's that, like, buying things on sale because you can get a lot now and you save it. So using up all your stuff. Same with shampoos, deodorants, conditioners. I mean, I had hair products that I'm just getting rid of now, and I started this in 2013. So 3 years I've been using hair products that I bought because it was on sale or because whatever. That's where my money was going. I was investing in, I'm buying this now to save money, when really I was spending money that I didn't need to spend. So I grew up in a lot of lack. My dad was a compulsive gambler. So there was always that, we're not sure if we're going to have money. You know, Friday is payday, and if dad doesn't come home, we don't have anything. And so I remember when my dad did get paid, my mom would buy a lot of food, and she would always tell us, you got to make this last. You have to make this last. And I get it now that she was trying to make sure that we had enough just in case he didn't bring home a paycheck the next Friday. And we bring these mentalities into adulthood with us. And so I was always taught in the religion I grew up in that we give 10% to our church. But I never understood that. I felt like, well, why would I give the church money when we need it ourselves? Or how do I know they're doing something wise with it? And I was told by other mentors about giving 10% and reading The Richest Man in Babylon. I totally recommend people reading that book. And I really got to the point where I thought, I have nothing to lose. Like, I'm already stuck. And honestly, is 10% going to make me any more broke? You can't really be more broke than broke. So I was going to go for it. And so my husband and I made a little envelope. We wrote give on the outside, and we started taking 10% of every paycheck and putting it in there. And we were doing this for a few months. We didn't know where we were going to give the money to. We just knew it was set aside to give. And finally, after a couple of months, I saw that we had $400 in there, and I nearly flipped out because I thought, there's no way I'm giving away $400. And I was going to steal half of it, put half away. I was like, Nate doesn't know how much is in there, so we'll just give 200. That's still a lot. Like, we need this. Our car is going to break down. We're going to need repairs. Like, $400 is going to help us. You know, all these normal thoughts that people have. And I put it back away. I was like, okay, Danny, just leave it. And I had an opportunity to donate to an orphanage. And I put the $400. I remember typing it in, putting in my debit card, hitting send, and like screaming. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I just gave $400 away. And that very moment, something shifted inside me where it was this, like, number one, the $400 was in the closet anyway. It was literally gone to me. It didn't really exist. So for me to even think that it was a big deal really wasn't, because it had already been away from me. But it felt so good. And then literally I started going, okay, that wasn't that bad. And I realized that I like this visual, but I feel like we hold on to our money so tight. Like, we go, oh my gosh, I just got my paycheck. It's $2,000. I'm going to hang on to it. Or you pay your bills and then you hang on to what's left. But if you're holding on so tight, you can't let anything else get in. If you have a fist, you can't receive. If you can keep your hand open, and if you can give money, you can also receive money. And you're just keeping that energetic field open. And I think too much of us are hanging on so tight, and we're like, I wonder why I'm broke. It's because you're not giving, but you also can't receive. And there's this unspoken energy to the universe that I'm giving away this $400 with full trust that it's going to go to where it's needed, that somebody else needs it more than I do. And believe me, every single one who's watching this, again, we think, I can't do it. I have bills to pay, whatever. Guess what? You can't be more broke than broke. And you can never get rid of all of your money, because even if I emptied my bank account, wrote a check for all the pennies that I had today, if I gave it all away, I would walk down the street through a parking lot and I'd find a penny on the ground, or I'd find a nickel. I would find more money. Somehow it would come back to me. So there really is no complete lack. We have to believe that. And I think by paying a tithing, you're actually demonstrating that you believe it. You're showing the universe you believe it, and you're open to receiving more. And literally right after that happened, and I never believed this until it happened to me, was that I had somebody like who owed me $200 from 2 years ago that I had just written off as I'm never seeing my money, emailed me and paid me back. And then I had this idea for a new business, like a new business idea concept that made me $5,000. That didn't happen before. And so I just started to have these ideas, and I started to make more money, and it was so crazy. And I totally believe that whenever I'm feeling stressed about money, the first thing I do now is I go give. I get online and I find something, and I get out my debit card and I go give like $100, $200. And when I'm stressed and when I'm feeling broke, I'm like, I need to give some money away. I do it every time.
That's amazing. That's almost like I'm feeling really tight or I'm feeling really stressed out. I go to yoga. Yeah. I feel really fat. I feel really lethargic. I'm going to go exercise. Like, I've never heard of it thought that way. And the whole fist thing makes me want to punch myself from the past.
Totally.
Even, when I was a financial planner, this is exactly taking where you're at and where I was, and still the habits of my story, my relationship with money. I need to create a love affair with it even deeper. And I think we all need to create a love affair with money in a positive way, and realize what our worth is to feel, and what other people's worth are to us, and the value of giving. Because when I was a financial planner, I was Danny J, I was so stressed about money and lack and not having enough in the future that I was saving between $2,000 and $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
And ask me how much I was tithing.
0. Yeah.
I mean, once in a while I'd write a check for like $100 or $200 here and there, and I felt like a champion.
Yes.
But like, come on, ref. Like, that's a total red card that I mean, I still have a good sized chunk of money that I saved away, but I feel like I slaved away for it instead of saved it. You know what I mean? I feel like because it was the wrong mentality. And so now where I'm at is like, you know what, I've got all this money and I'm still living this mindset of lack. I have this money. I could use this to invest in my business, other people. Opportunities that maybe are waiting for me if I just open my fist. So how would you advise people kind of actionable steps on how they can switch their mindset on that? Just like little baby steps toward, hey, you know what? I don't have to hold on so tight.
Yeah. So, I mean, it really came down to this visual for me and these questions, which was, so when you said you would give here and there, you know, $100, and feeling like a champion, I remember thinking, I'm like, I give money. I'm totally generous. If somebody's doing a fundraiser, I'll give them $20 or I'll give them $50. And I thought I was being a badass by giving $50. Well, I remember my husband's paycheck was around $1,500 or no, $2,500. So 10% of 2,500 is $250. That's a far cry from $50. Like 10% is a lot more than what we think is being generous. And so that was a push for me. But what it came down to was thinking about 10% in the big picture. It is, if someone gave you $1, could you live off of 90 cents? Well, yeah, because honestly, let's be real. Nobody can live off of $1. So it really won't matter. 90 cents or $1, it's the same. If somebody gave you $10, could you just live off of 9? Yeah, same thing. It's like, $10 is $10, $9, who cares? It's not going to kill you. If somebody gave you $100, could you live off of 90? So when I started to think of like, when I take 10% from this small amount and grow it out, you're like, oh yeah, $90 out of 100. Sure. Like I could still deal with $90. What's really funny, one of my favorite mentors is Jim Rohn. And he says, you know, people always say, when I make more money, I'll give more. When I make more money, I'll give more.
I've said it many times. I said it 3 days ago.
Yeah. And he says, you get someone to give 100,000 out of 1,000,000. I'm not so sure. Like that's a lot of money. But if you get in the habit, and I like that you said habit, because actually in my Find the Money Project Next Level course, I call all of these things habits. The debt habit. Debt is a habit. Savings habit. The giving habit. Giving is a habit. I make it a habit to give. So if you start making a habit of giving 10% now, you will already be so generous by the time you are making 100,000 or 1,000,000. It's not going to phase you. It will feel good. But if you think that when you make more money, you're going to give more, it simply isn't true. You won't. You might make more money, and instead of giving $20 to a donation, you'll give 100. Well, that's not your potential. That's not what you could do. You can make a much bigger impact. And I truly think that what makes people happy about money is people want to make an impact. People want to be generous. People want to donate to charities. They want to volunteer, but they feel like they can't. And the truth is you can now. You have to do what you can with where you are, with what you have.
Right now. Right.
So it's like, start now. Who cares? Whenever I do a fundraiser for somebody, I would love 1,000 people to donate $5. I don't need everybody to donate a ton. If we can get a large group to do a little, we can make a huge impact in the world.
You just did it to me. I'm working on this really fun project right now myself, which is, you know, to inspire people with habits. Like you said, it's like, we can talk all day long about, you know, we can complain essentially and point out the flaws and like all these problems. Here's all the problems and why you're not. Okay, well, let's focus on the positive, which is how can we empower you so that those things won't even be an issue. Totally. So I'm doing something right now where I'm, you know, putting together this like little retreat thing, but locally on a yacht. And I'm going to have little projects for each, you know, 5 different stations where people can learn how to develop routines and habits. Just little tiny baby steps. And I just wrote down habits to happiness and routines to riches.
Yes.
And I'm gonna take 10% of what I make from this project, thanks to you, and I'm gonna invest it into a fundraiser.
Love it.
So, thanks, AJ. I mean, I've always thought about that, but like it's this feeling. I even have it. I think we all have some sort of inherent negative relationship with money, and how can we take it and make it into a positive relationship with money?
Well, I want to just interject real quick because we're in this political thing going on right now, and I try to stay out of politics, and I see it on Facebook, but I see these comments like these rich people should give more and they should be taxed more and they should do this more and da da da. And I'm going, and they say that they should give more, but I'm thinking, but are you giving? But are you helping? Like, why should they do it and not you? So I'm going, if I'm going to complain, I'm going to also do something about it, right? I'm only going to complain about the things I'm doing. So
Yes.
I'm already giving. I donate my time. My husband and I are mentors with Big Brothers Big Sisters. We donate 10% of our income, if not more. So I'm not going to complain and bitch about these rich people who aren't doing that. Who knows? They probably are. But I think so many of us, I don't care if you're making $20,000 a year, $200,000 a year, or $20 million a year, you still have an obligation and a duty to give because you have been given something and somebody else still has less than you do.
Yeah.
And I think too that you can't just say, and I know this will come up, is people say, well, can I just give my time? To that, I say no. And I feel very strongly about that because too many people say they give their time and they don't. Like, really? Okay, fine. Give 10% of your time. If you work a 40-hour work week, then you give 4 hours of time. Do you give 4 hours of your time? I doubt it. And the second part of that is I think you give what you want to have. So if you want more money, you need to give money. If you want more time, you need to give time. And saying you can't give money is a lie to yourself and you're believing it. So you still have to, I believe you have to give money so you can see that it is simply untrue, that you do have something to give. And if you have a cell phone, you have a cell phone bill, and you have a computer, you have money.
That was drop mic.
I know, right?
That was your moment, Danny J. You were just in your flow right there. That was, I think that was the highlight. You got me all like, was it the coffee or was that you that just did that to me?
I get really passionate about this part. Like the give part for me is probably the most crucial part. And I so strongly believe it because I was so against it for so long. And I think I've just had such a transformation because I would refuse. I mean, my family gave to the church my whole life. And I was like, why are you giving money to the church? But my mom would always say, we're always taken care of. And we were.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I can hear people saying right now, I really can't, of course you have heard a lot of people say, well, where can I take it out of the budget? So I've heard, there's a couple people I've heard talk about this, and I used to talk about this when I was a financial planner, that X percentage of your income should go here, X percent here, X percent here. And I've heard recently that like 70% or so would go to our discretionary expenses, 15% would go towards saving toward our future, and then 15% would go to other stuff, fluff, investing in ourselves. So where in that picture would you say, like if you looked at a statement of where people were spending their money using the 70-15-15 concept that I just indicated, where would you recommend people carve out some of that to tithe? Like, where do you find the money to give the money to get back the money?
Yeah. Well, first off, I think you just take it off the top. So you take it off the top, you pretend it never existed, kind of like our taxes, right? You get a paycheck, you never saw it. The government is really good about making sure they get their money, and we live off of what's left and we figure out. So I think you take it off the top and you figure out what's left. But that being said, take it off the top. With that being said, going through these steps, you're going to see you most likely are like me and probably 95% of the people who did Find the Money Project, that you're eating way too much and you're spending way too much on food. The second thing is there are ways that you can reduce expenses that you already have. So literally taking 15 minutes to call your car insurance, to call your cell phone, to call all these companies. People did that, just making a few phone calls, spending less than an hour, saved over $1,200 a year because they said, hey, my bill is kind of high. What can you do about that? And a lot of companies will make adjustments. Nobody asks, so they're not going to just give it to you. But we had switched an address where my car is garaged, and we saved $100 a month on car insurance just from a phone call and just switching an address. It just
Is that a Geico commercial?
I know. No, I mean, and it's funny because in the subject line, I wrote 15 minutes can save you, but literally 15 minutes can save you so much money just making a few phone calls. And that's money that is literally, I love this kind of stuff because those are residual bills, right? Every single month you're getting billed. So yeah, maybe it's only, people go, well, I only saved $10. $10 is fantastic because that's $120 a year. That's $500 in the next 5 years. I mean, this is residual money that you're saving that it would have just been leaking out of your pockets anyway. So that 15 minutes has a huge return on investment.
How to turn time into money.
Yes.
Yeah, I used to do that when I was a financial planner too. Is just, hey guys, just get on the phone real quick, call your cable provider, call your phone
Yeah.
provider. And then I was in solar for a while, and I still, if anybody's listening to this and is interested in looking into solar, I've got a broker that I can refer you guys to that looks into, because solar can save $100 on your electricity bill if you own your own home. So I mean, there's all different kinds of things that you can do to save money here and there. That's like, oh, we just found $500, and I spent maybe 2 hours and I did that, and then I'm going to give it over here. And then for me with this, I'm like, I'm going to create this event. I'm going to create this fun fundraiser, learning how hearts, you can say habits to happiness or whatever I call this. And then I'm creating this event. Yeah, I'm giving some time that on a Saturday that would have otherwise been my time off over the weekend.
Yeah.
But I'm creating that income where there wasn't any, and I'm sending it to, I'm going to tithe it to whoever I decide, or maybe I'll even start my own foundation one day. I can see that in your future. You probably already are. So that's it. It's seeing opportunity where you otherwise perceived that it was a roadblock, and getting out of that victim mindset and getting out of the complaining mindset that this is all happening to you, and that's your story. So Danny J just hit the nail on the head that you have to explore what is your story, and where did you first develop your first, I guess you could say, few months of your life where you felt your first experience of lack or fear around money. So start there and then heal those wounds. And I think through the tithing, you'll begin to heal those wounds, right, Danny J? Like you can kind of feel yourself pulling out of that fear mindset.
Oh, totally. I mean, in my private group, the people who have started to give, I mean, it's so fun to see the transformation because you can just see it and you can feel it and you can hear it, even though they're not talking, like just their caps locks and their exclamation points of, oh my gosh, I gave $200 today. This is the most I've ever given, and just how they feel. And then literally they're going, I don't know if this is coincidence, but this just happened, or I just won I don't know, somebody won a car, and somebody won, people have been winning these things, and they're like, this is crazy. I just gave last week and this happened. Is it a coincidence? And I'm going, no, it ain't no coincidence. It's what happens. And it's so cool to see. And you also have to give with the intention of not to say, I'm giving $200, so I'm going to get $200 back. It doesn't work like that, right?
Yes.
It's not the same exact thing. It may come back, and for me, it was an idea that I had to do a new business to make more money. Or maybe it came in the form of an object. Like I won a computer last month or December. I won a laptop. I needed a new laptop. I didn't want to spend the money. I just and I had been giving a lot, and then I won this laptop. Maybe you're going to get things. Maybe you're going to get more time. Maybe you're going to get some paid time off. Who knows what it is, and who knows when it's going to happen. It doesn't mean it's going to happen immediately. Like you click a button, $400, and then somehow magically $400 comes into your bank account. It doesn't happen that way.
The Amazon Prime of donating.
Right. But just
it says one day shipment. Where's my...
You just have to believe. Yes, you have to believe and be open to receiving whatever it is that you are meant to receive and need to receive. And sometimes we need to receive something completely different. Sometimes we need to receive love or a call or something else. But I just know you're unlocking something massive by doing it.
Yep. You hit number 3 hard on that one, is, the attachment, the money story. So I think, did you have anything more to say on that before we moved backwards into number 2?
Yeah. So I guess if we're going to talk about the money story, in my next level group, I have an online paid group after the challenge that I do. And we just dig deeper into the habits. And one of the modules, the first homework, is I asked, what do you remember first about money? Like, what's your first memory? What do you remember your parents saying? Do you remember them saying anything about rich people? And I would say 90% of the people said they don't remember talking about money at all. They don't remember hearing about it. There was just a lot of nothing. And it was interesting because Nate and I did a group webinar, and we were talking about the beginning of our marriage. And before we had the bankruptcy and the foreclosure, he goes, yeah, we just did what our parents did. We never talked about it. And I go, man, he's right. We never had a conversation. In 5 years of marriage, I had my money, he had his money, he paid his bills, I paid my bills, and it was cool. Like it worked. It worked until it didn't work.
Wow.
And suddenly we were forced to go, hey, how much are you making? I mean, I knew what he was making. I knew what I was making. My money was kind of fun money. His money was pay the bills money. And that's how we lived. But we had never set ourselves up. I mean, realistically, we could have taken all my money, put it into some savings and investments, and been fine and not had to lose our house and not had to walk away. We could have done a lot of things which we didn't do. I could have had my student loans paid off by then. So we've finally been talking about it, and I have no issues now asking. I remember my mom, she would never talk about numbers, right? She's like, you don't ask people how much they make. And I totally do. Like,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like, now
that's so true.
I'm like,
That's so
what'd you
true.
make on this? You know, I'll ask my friends, what'd you make on this launch? How much do you charge for this? I ask, but it's been taboo for so long that we don't talk about numbers. We don't ask people. It's like asking how much they weigh.
Out of respect.
It's so taboo to ask numbers, but I think we need to have an open conversation, because sometimes we think our neighbors, our friends are doing better than they are because they just bought a new truck or they just bought a new thing, where in reality, maybe they just got a inheritance, or maybe they're just in debt and they just got a loan and they're trying to make it look like they're doing well and they're not, and they're really struggling. So we need to have these conversations, and a lot of times what our first memory is nothing. We don't have a memory of talking about it, or maybe just a small memory of our parents saying that you can't do this because we can't afford it. So they knew there was some kind of lack, but that's all they knew.
Yeah,
And
if
I
you
think,
tell yourself, oh, go ahead.
yeah, no, I think it's just having a conversation and looking into your money story. And if there was no conversation growing up, if you don't recall, then maybe it's time to have those conversations and just to kind of step out there. I did my very first webinar right when we got out of debt, and I told the audience that my husband made $35,000 a year. And my mom called me right after because she watched it, and she's like, honey, you should not tell people what your husband makes. And I said, I am going to tell people what he makes because I wanted them to know. If I said, we became debt free in 90 days, but we're millionaires, well, that's not that fantastic. Like, nobody's going to think that's impressive. But if we say we're only making 35K a year and we did it, we paid off $18,000 in 3 months, that's a big effing deal. So,
And
yes.
you're part of, like, that's kind of the norm.
Yes. So I'm like, people need to know. People need to know. They need to know how we did it and what we were making, because then it's easy to say, well, yeah, of course you did. You don't have kids and you make 150,000 a year, and like, they can make so many assumptions because it's all mine, and I could make it look like I'm rich. But I wanted to tell people, this is where we were, this is what we made exactly, and this is how we did it. And so having these conversations and being around people who are open to it and just feeling what you feel, because I had a lot of anxiety talking about money, and I don't now, but see what comes up for you and go, okay, that's interesting. Why am I scared to tell somebody my salary? Why am I scared to, I mean, obviously be careful at work because you don't want to get people fired, but
right.
like, hey, you make that shit. But I think it is important, though, to have a more open conversation and not have it so secretive, because maybe you're not in such a bad situation as you think you are, or maybe your neighbors aren't doing as well as you think they are.
That's the whole, what are you investing in? And if the disease of fear can spread quickly within even just a neighborhood or your friend group. And so if you see someone that you admire that has something that you want, then it's that is sometimes for me. I mean, sometimes for me, I just see, this is the power of commercials and marketing. I see something and I'm like, oh, I need to have that. And so that's why I don't even own a TV. So I don't watch TV. I watch things like you talk on Periscope or whoever, that are inspiring to me, or the next guy I'm interviewing, JP Sears. But money is something that, like we talked about, number 2, we see it as it can fix something. And before we get to that one, and then we close it off with, 3 things, just summarizing the 3 things that people can do to repair this relationship that they have with money, is that right now the marriage divorce rates are 50% the first marriage, 67% the second marriage, and approximately 72 or 73% the third marriage, of which half of all marriages end in divorce because of money issues.
Yeah.
So, me and Danny J and I are here to preserve your marriage, really. We're here to save you money on attorney's fees so that you could, imagine all the money that's being spent on attorney fees now to get divorced, and how many vacations you could take around the world and take your children with you if you only had these conversations about money. So we think that money will fix something, and therefore we have a disagreement, or I would say maybe not even a disagreement. Maybe there's no conversation about money, like you said. So how can we repair that so that we don't have the mindset that it will fix something that starts an argument in our marriages?
Yeah. Well, I think it comes down to first, it's just like anything where we feel like if we lose 25 pounds, we'll be happy. If we get this, we'll be happy. And I think we do this our whole lives, right? We think as soon as I get my driver's license, it's going to be amazing. As soon as I graduate college and I have my degree, as soon as I get married, as soon as I have kids, as soon as I make 10,000 a month. But what happens is with money, it's never a millionaire. They're going to want to make more. Everybody always wants more. Nobody's allergic to money and we don't want to stop making. So if we think $10,000 we're going to be better, no, what's going to happen is you're going to just have ideas to get more or better things. And then you're going to be like, now I need to make 25,000 a month. And once you make 25,000, you're going to want to make 100,000. So if you keep thinking that there's a certain dollar amount that's going to make things better, you're telling yourself and you're believing a lie because it's simply not true. Just like with anything, I feel like this with health and fitness, and what I would tell my clients and even myself is you have to be okay with where you are now in order to bring more in order to bring in what you want, because what you resist persists. So if you keep thinking, well, I'm in this place because I only make 2,500 a month. Well, guess what? You're not going to make more because you're going to make the same excuse when you make 5,000 a month. You're going to make the same excuse when you make 10,000 a month. And what I call this is faithful with the little things. So I learned this from my mentor, and it comes from the Bible, which basically says, if you're faithful with the little things, you'll be made ruler over much. So let's say you've been given a certain amount. Let's say it's $2,000 a month. If you're constantly complaining that it's not enough and you're not making enough, why would the universe or anyone bring you or give you more? You're simply not going to be. So it's a gratitude practice. It's saying, I'm grateful for what I have now. I'm grateful. Thank God I have 2,000 because I could have 800 a month. Like I could have 600 a month like I did in 2012. You know, thank God I have this much. I have to be faithful with what I'm given in order to be given more. Like you wouldn't give your 5-year-old an iPad if they just took their last iPad and threw it down the stairs. If you're not faithful with what you have, you're not going to get more. So if you're complaining that I don't get paid enough, well, let's be grateful with what you get paid. And are you being faithful with that? And are you a good employee? And are you a good steward of what you have?
You know, with that, it's starting with, like you said, the simple things, the little things. And that's what I've been thinking lately too, is just, it's wherever you are, be there, be here. And it's like, just, those 3 words have been echoing in my heart, not my mind, my heart lately, is when I'm out walking my dog. I'm not listening to music anymore. I'm listening to the music of the birds and nature. I'm feeling the vitamin D being absorbed in my skin. I'm watching my dog relish in these cute little lizards running across the street, and her eating one and coming home with the most awful breath in the world and licking my face. Gratitude for the simple, the little tiny thing, like the little things, the basic things, the simple things in life. And I say this to people too, is I'll say something, and I've met a lot of my friends this way. In fact, this is how I met you. I was like, oh my God, I love your pants. I love your outfit. Cause I was working with your husband at the Olympia. And I was like, oh, I love you. I love your aura. And compliments can bind us because we're vulnerable to them. We're showing someone that we love them. And that's really that study that I've seen on TED Talk, that the longest study in the world that's ever been done is that happiness comes from relationships, not money. And the one thing that people think will bring them happiness is money, the top one thing they think. And then the long-term study that they've done over people who've lived the longest and the happiest, were their connections is what brought them happiness. And so the concept of gratitude is so underplayed now. And I'm so happy that people like you, leaders, are bringing this out, because it's like, even if you say to someone, you know, like, you look beautiful today, or here's some flowers, I just got you some flowers. And they're like, oh, or you're like, oh, Danny J, your hair looks beautiful today. And you're like, oh, yeah. It's like, I just handed you those flowers and I was trying to give you a gift. I'm trying to detach from the outcome of it, which is how you receive it. But you take those flowers and you're, I don't need these flowers, or my hair looks like crap. You're not receiving that compliment. So even just by starting with those little things of accepting and receiving, then you're opening that fist and you're opening your heart. So I think
it's also just giving gratitude for, let's say your bills. It's so crazy. You know, people can say like, I hate my bills. Well, guess what? What did you get? Let's just say my cell phone bill. It's pretty expensive. And I used to bitch about it. But now I'm like, how amazing that I can have this conversation with you in another state on my cell phone. I can be on Periscope and talk to people live all over the world. And yet, why am I complaining about this bill that I have to pay? I don't have to pay it. Honestly, all of your bills, y'all, just going to let you know, you don't have to pay any of them. You don't have to have lights. You don't have to have electricity. You don't have to have a car. You don't have to have gasoline. You can just sit at home and have none of them and have no bills. And you can be happy there too. I mean, you really can. You just have to decide. You have to make a decision on what makes you happy and just be grateful for everything. Everything. As soon as you switch that, I mean, when I lived with my friend in Utah and Nate and first I was feeling sorry for myself. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe we have to live with our friends. I can't believe that we are on food stamps. And then when I started to switch things, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky I have friends that will let me live with them. I'm so lucky that there is a state program that we can get food, because right now it's a struggle. And as soon as I started to shift my gratitude, that was one of the things that we were doing at the beginning as with the mindset and our giving. Everything changed so rapidly too. It's amazing how quickly it can change, but you cannot be blaming. And I'll tell you, I'm just going to say this a million times this year. We cannot determine our outcomes in our economies and our lives on who's the next president. We can't say it's the economy or who's ruling the country. It is us. It is 100% solely your responsibility to take responsibility for your own economy, your gratitude for what you have, and to do more with it.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I just took like a million notes on that one. Another drop mic moment.
I know.
As we come to the close of this. I mean, this can go on and on and on and on. And I think that's why I want people to go check out, you and your project, even if it's just to follow you. The following is free.
Yeah, totally.
And that's what this event is about, is that, maybe people don't have the money to invest in a counselor or to invest in, having someone find them a job. Or whatever the money story is that you have, but it's free to connect. It's free to give our time, like you said. And I'll get to the closing items, but I wanted to also, there was one other thing I wanted to share with what happened with me last week. I mean, there's two things. One, I got a phone bill for $1,300 and I went, what? It's a bad long story, but AT&T was messing up and I was trying to fix it. And the more I tried to fix it, the more they messed it up. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. The old me would have written this story, written a big long letter to the CEO, told him how much he sucked and, whatever, but I just let it go. I'm like, whatever. Yeah. This is just, the better technology gets, I get it. The more complicated it becomes. And you know what? My time can be more invested into people that I connect with, that I care about. Yeah. So, what I recently did is I increased my fees to work with me, and I have a different structure. And I was so paralyzed to increase my fees, and I increased them by probably about $200 a month or so. So that $200 a month, but I also am giving more time, but I also am giving more value. So that $200 a month, I was paralyzed to do that. And I started working with someone and their patients. Actually, no, this was at the gym, his clients. And I had my first wellness day. 3 people wanted to work with me. It threatened him because now it took money away from his training fees, potentially. He convinced them out of it and then asked them to work with him instead. And I went, because he said, you need to lower your fees. And I was like, no. So I, rather than going, yeah, you're right, I'm not worth that much, I went, no, I'm worth that much because I give that much, and this relationship isn't working. So I think a lot of people, especially women who are entrepreneurs, also undervalue what they're worth. And so that's another good way I thought of recently, that's how I'm going to be able to follow your principles of tithing more, because I just increased my fees because I know that I give a lot, and I know I can change people's lives. Like you said earlier, this, then this. And I have struggled with many viruses when I was a kid, many viruses. And then it happened to adulthood and teenager years. And I was embarrassed that I had these viruses. And then my viruses led to my autoimmune disease. But then I reversed my autoimmune disease. And this is what I do in my practice, is teach people how to, you are not your virus. You are not your disease. And so you don't have to be a victim of that and complain, oh, my Hashimotos, my MS. All of it, these are all roadblocks that you only perceive in your own mind. So that's really, and the last thing is that what I love so much about you is that you've taken this whole concept of, I have to spend money on gas, and said, screw it. We're not going to go to a brick and mortar work site. We're going to travel around the United States, hop in our RV and travel, the US, and that's going to be our home. It's going to be our mobile home. And we're going to create income out of nowhere through our passions. And that's it. I mean, you're literally living your dream, aren't you? I mean, every day is different, but would you say you're living your dream?
No, absolutely. I think that this is why I'm so passionate about it too, is we have been able to live in a motorhome over the last year, travel around the country. I travel a ton. I spent a month in Santa Monica last month. I went to a week in Philly. I'm all over the place, and it's what I love to do. I'm not saying that this is everybody's lifestyle, but when you have debt and you have bills, if you have to go to work because you have to pay the bills, that's not living. I want people to not have those debts so they can really choose. Some people just don't even know what they want anymore because they have to do so many things. They're like, I don't even know what that would feel like. So let's get rid of the debt and see what kind of weight that lifts off of your shoulders and see what that would feel like. Maybe it is living in a motorhome. Maybe it's just being able to have the freedom to fly home whenever you want to, wherever home is. Maybe it's to go on a vacation once a year, take your kids to Disneyland. I mean, my parents growing up, they constantly said that they always wanted to take us to Disneyland. They wanted to take a family trip, and we never went because they never had the money. And then when I was in my 20s, my mom wanted to go, and I'm like, Mom, I'm good. I don't really want to go to Disneyland anymore. But there's so many things that you're missing out on. The reason I'm passionate about this is because your debt is holding you back, but it doesn't have to. You just have to shift your mindset around it, and you have to believe that it's possible for you. And we're not here to just work and die. My dad's favorite saying is, life sucks, then you die. And that's his mantra. And that's what he lives his life by. And I'm like, no, that is not my life. That is not the mantra I'm going to choose to believe. And he said it the other day, and I just started laughing because I'm like, Dad, I'm talking about you on podcast now with your little mantra, but that's his life. I mean, life sucks, then you die. And he's lived a hard life, and he's chosen that. He doesn't have to. And I think that too many of us believe that to be true, that this is how it is, and it's not how it is. And look for people like Diane, like myself, like somebody who's accomplished what you want to accomplish, somebody who's beaten cancer, somebody who's gotten rid of their autoimmune disease, somebody who's gotten out of debt, somebody who's made $1 million in a year. Find the proof that you can do it, because there's proof of everything.
That's one of the top 10 too, Danny J, is one of the top 10 guaranteed way to be unhappy is to surround yourself by people who don't empower you and hold you back, like the crab pot theory. That one crab is trying to crawl out of the pot, and those other people are pulling it down. Surround yourself with people who are trying to crawl out of the pot too, and think outside the box. Exactly. The transition, you just said basically in a summary is your debt is not your destiny.
Yep.
And what I heard Dr. What was his name? Dr. Mark Hyman, and he said 99% of our thoughts don't even happen. And then I heard Elizabeth Gilbert say that the thing that you fear the most has already happened. So if you think within those contexts, that my thoughts, a lot of it is just buzz, a lot of it is just fear. And then those are the small habits toward health, happiness, and wealth. Now, let's end with your top 3 items that you think that people can do right now in less than a minute, that people can do toward working toward a more abundant life of happiness through their money, their relationship and actions with money.
Yeah. So 3 things right now that you can do today, and these are some of the things that I've been doing with my groups, is number 1, you have to know where you stand. It's kind of like saying, I need to lose weight, but you don't know how much you weigh and you never get on the scale. Get your bank statements out and look at where your money is going. You have to know. If you don't know, you can't do anything about it. So that's number 1. Number 2 is use all that you have. So use up your shampoos, use up your food, because I guarantee a lot of you will not have to go shopping for many weeks. And right there, if you don't shop, let's just say you normally go to Target twice a month and you don't go to Target, that's probably $400 in your pocket right there, if anybody goes to Target like I do. And number 3, find out what your triggers are and what do you really want. And when you find out what you really want, if you say, I really would love to go to Italy, and you're going to buy a Starbucks, now you can make those decisions and go, do I really want this Starbucks, or could I take this $5 or $7 and put it in my Italy fund? And start to just be intentional about where your money. That's not to say I never drink Starbucks, because I do. But I make a decision before on anything I spend. Is it worth taking away from my long-term goals and dreams?
Opportunity cost.
Yeah. So ask yourself what you're doing and what you're spending on. Is that worth what you would really, really love to do? Is this really what I want right now? No, I'm just bored and I want to buy something. I used to go to Target. My mom did this, and I just picked up this habit where when I was just bored or stressed, I just go to Target and walk up and down the aisles and just shop.
Girl, I used
retail therapy.
Yeah. I used to spend $500 to $1,000 on Nordstrom Rack once every trip when I had my 2009 breakdown and I lost my house and I went through all that.
Yeah.
Because I feared money so much, I ended up spending more of it. It was awful. $500. And that stuff's probably still in my closet and I should probably just get rid of it and sell it or just donate it or something. So those are great ones. And guys, I mean, it doesn't stop here. Those are the baby steps. Those are the steps that you can take toward your future. And then what Danny J was talking about with the tithing thing, I mean, those are all, those top 3 steps are the context for your beginning steps. And then once you have clarity, then you can start to give, is what I'm taking from that. Is that right, Danny?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's so many and the mindset is huge, but I like to see people make immediate wins. So if you can immediately go, holy crap, there's $500 right there, then you're ready to do more. And you go, oh, I do have some money. But I would I have a freebie for you guys. I do Find the Money Project a couple times a year where we have 14 days and we go through these step-by-step. Giving is one of them for sure. But if you go to DannyJ.com/HH, you're going to get these mindset shifts. There's some mantras there. And there's also these 5 debt tips that are going to help you make $500 in the next week. And one of them on there is give. But as far as like just 3 things you could do today, I would start there because you're going to see right away you have more abundance than you think.
That's great. $500 in the next week. I mean, we are motivated by money, aren't we? So that could be the initial motivator.
There you go.
$500. Danny J just gave you a gift of helping you with not just the mindset, but also finding the money and then what to do with it. And then it just becomes a beautiful snowball as long as you stick to it. So that's the happiness or the habit part of this happiness too. So habits, healthy habits. And then doing them baby steps too. This is not going to happen overnight. She's not talking about finding your money like a pot of gold, like a leprechaun.
Right.
So, Danny J, you are the bomb girlfriend. I'm moving on to the next interview now, but I thank you so much for your time because I know time is also money and everything is an opportunity cost. So what you could have been doing in this last hour, I don't know what you would have been doing, but I thank you from the bottom of my heart. So much gratitude for spending it with me so that our hearts can connect.
Thank you, girl. I can't wait to see your people. And you guys can always tweet me or find me on Snapchat or any of the things, and I will definitely answer.
Awesome. Cool. Have an abundant, beautiful day, Danny J.
Thank you.